As part of managing health and safety in your organisation, the HSE advises the 5 steps to risk assessment approach. This is all about controlling risks in your workplace, and to do this it is necessary to think about the processes or procedures in your business that could potentially do harm to employees, and what you might do to reduce or eliminate the risk. This is known as a risk assessment, and is a procedure the law requires all employers to carry out. You don't necessarily have to write it down if you have fewer than 5 employees, but it's good practice to formalise it anyway. For one, it lets your employees know you take their health and safety seriously, and secondly, you're going to have to formalise and document it when you get your 6th employee anyway, so why not start properly? And remember, the HSE doesn't want to burden you with producing lots of paperwork, so keep it simple by thinking about the real risks and those that are more likely to happen that could cause the most harm or illness. So what are the 5 steps to risk assessment? Step 1 is to identify the hazards, anything with the potential to cause harm. This can sometimes be the most difficult step as we get familiar with our surroundings, and things that may seem dangerous to others can become a part of what we accept as normal. A good place to start is by walking around your place of work. It can help if you have somebody else with you too. Observe and think about the processes, activities and substances used in the workplace, and try these other tactics. If you have sufficient accidents and absence records, look back to see if there are any patterns of injury or ill health that stand out. Check manufacturers' data sheets for hazards with chemicals they might be using. And don't forget the cleaners cupboard either, as there can be some nasty concoctions lurking in there as well. Machinery instruction books are a good source of hazard information. Manufacturers have learned the hard way over the years and are very keen to point out things that they could be blamed for, particularly where lack of maintenance is involved. It's not all about now either, think about the long term. Is your place dusty or noisy? High levels of noise over a prolonged period can cause irreversible hearing loss, while dusty conditions or poor quality ventilation can lead to severe respiratory diseases. Also, the HSE website, that's hse.gov.uk, is a huge resource on controlling workplace hazards. Employers have a duty to assess the health and safety risks faced by their workers and must check for potential hazards including both physical and mental, as well as biological and chemical. Examples of these would be lifting, manual handling, slips and trips, noise, faulty electrical equipment, machinery, moving plants, dust and power tools. And mental hazards might include excessive workload, long hours, unrealistic expectations and targets, working with high-need clients, bullying, exclusion, being set up to fail. These are also known as psychosocial hazards, which over time can be as debilitating as physical injuries or physical illness. Chemical hazards, cleaning fluids, paints, thinners, solvents, bleaches or aerosols, and biological hazards, TB, hepatitis, Weil's disease, Legionella, plus many other bacterial and viral diseases faced by healthcare professionals, railway workers, maintenance staff, lab workers, carers, plumbers and electricians. So who may be harmed and how? Who in your organisation may be harmed by your work process and procedures, and how may they be harmed? Don't forget that you need to include any self-employed contractors, part-time workers and visitors to your premises. Identify all those who may be at risk. Observe your work routine in each department if you have more than one, and note down significant risks. Don't waste time on trivialities, but identify those hazards that have the potential to do most harm. Employers must review work routines in all different locations and situations where their staff are employed. For example, if you have workers that go out to visit clients, particularly visiting clients in their own homes, then consider the hazards involved in lone working. In shops, hazards are found in manual handling, slips and trips from spillages and stock on the shop floor and storerooms. Staff face the risk of violence from customers and intruders, especially in the evenings. In offices, consider workstation equipment, i.e. the desk, screen, keyboard and chair. These must be correctly adjusted to suit each employee, and employees must be aware of how to do it. In hairdressers, barber shops, beauty salons, consider the hazards of common everyday chemicals such as bleach, peroxides and acetone, etc., and the use of hair dryers and electric razors next to wash basins, as well as slips and trips. In all environments, consider the dangers of electricity, faulty appliances, extension leads causing overload, and trip hazards. These are just some examples, but in addition, employers have special duties towards the health and safety of young workers, disabled employees, night workers, shift workers, and pregnant or nursing mothers. Step 3. Assess the risk and take action to control or eliminate. Life is not without risks, and this is clearly recognised by the HSE and within the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. However, employers must consider how likely it is that each hazard could cause harm and the severity of that harm. This is the basis of your risk assessment. This will determine whether the employer should aim to reduce the level of risk by changing the dangerous to the less dangerous, or preferably taking steps to remove the hazard completely. Often a hazard cannot be completely removed, but it can be managed so that it's at an acceptable safe level. This is achieved by choosing safer equipment to carry out the task, or replacing toxic or irritant substances with something safer, changing a work process, or moving the environment around to create a safer working area. Whatever way you decide to do it, the key to it all working safely is training and communication. Without anybody knowing why you've implemented these changes, or without any training in a new piece of equipment or way of working, then all the efforts are for nothing. Too many employers have the right intentions, but fail to communicate correctly with their staff, then blame everybody else when it all goes wrong. Even after all precautions have been taken, some risks usually remain. The task then is to decide for each remaining hazard whether the risk remains high, medium or low, and implement further controls, training and review to safely manage the situation. Step 4. Record the significant findings. Employers with 5 or less staff are not required to record in writing the main findings of their risk assessment, but it makes good practice to do so, particularly if there's an accident in the workplace. Plus it conveys a strong message to your small workforce that there is a commitment towards their safety and health at work. The record should include details of hazards identified in the risk assessment and action taken to reduce or eliminate the risk. It does not have to be clever or complicated. An example might be the risk of fire from grinding activities in the workshop area. The controls might be that all grinding is carried out in a brick-built structure with clean concrete floors, and floors are swept daily, and all waste is deposited in steel bins with good-fitting steel lids which are emptied frequently. Adequate and suitable fire extinguishers are correctly located to hand and are checked regularly and serviced annually. All workshop staff have been trained in fire awareness and the use of extinguishers, and a fire check is conducted before leaving the building at night. This simple record provides proof that the assessment was carried out, the hazards identified, the control measures put in place, and it was communicated to all the relevant staff through training. This would now be regarded as a low risk of injury through fire to employees working in that area. If, on the other hand, the grinding was carried out in a wooden shed with a wooden floor that was soaked in solvents with oily rags scattered about and overflowing open bins, and was manned by unsupervised young workers, then that would be considered a very high-risk activity. This is what your risk assessment is all about: taking time out to view the business from a safety angle, reviewing where changes can and should be made, and recording the findings and controls. You can then use it as the basis for future reviews as your business grows and changes. And step 5. Review the risk assessment regularly. Make sure your risk assessment stays up to date. Few workplaces stay the same. Eventually a business will increase its staff, bring in new equipment and procedures, or even move premises. All these occurrences introduce new hazards which need looking at and managing. Therefore, it makes sense to review your risk assessments on an ongoing basis. Ask yourself the following questions. Have there been any significant changes since last reviewed? Has there been a significant passage of time since the last review, such as more than 12 months? Have workers reported a problem? Have there been any accidents or reported near misses that we can learn from? Are the agreed safe working practices still being applied? And has the workload increased? Above all else, remember to communicate your safety message clearly to all staff. Without employees on board and fully understanding the reasons for change, it will be feared, kicked against and sabotaged. So communication is very much the key. And last but not least, we all have a role to play in effective health and safety, and for those actively involved in promoting safe working practices, it can be a rewarding, interesting and varied role. So please visit this site often, where you'll find a growing number of articles, resources, advice and opinion, and I hope you've enjoyed this article. Whether you're a seasoned health and safety professional or just getting started, we value your opinions and input, so please feel free to comment on any of the posts by visiting www.healthandsafetytoday.co.uk. And don't forget, due to the ever-changing nature of regulations and the law, please visit hse.gov.uk for the very latest information and updates. I thank you for watching this video, and please take the time to go over and review the website. Thank you.